What's going on, guys? Cody Marchand from HindZeke.com, and today we're going to break down my favorite values on DraftKings this week for Week 14. So early in this week, I was having a hard time building some rosters because the thing is, I didn't see a ton of value in the wide receiver position, and all the value I was finding was at running back. And normally for me, the way I would like to build my lineups, I like to have value receivers, value tight end, value quarterback, value defense, spend all my money on running backs. And this week, my builds were like the exact opposite of that. I was having 3 value running backs, paying up at receiver, paying up at tight end. And I didn't, it's not like I hated the build because it was my favorite build that I made. But, I just don't feel comfortable, straying from the strategy that I love to play. I think that people that pay up a receiver and not running back are normally making a mistake. I do think it's a different week. Maybe I can be super different. I might be playing more tournaments because, I'm not as comfortable as I normally am in my cash lineup at this point. It's only Wednesday afternoon. So things are going to change into Sunday. That being said, guys, since it is kind of a strange week, what I want to do is actually go live on YouTube Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time and kind of get online and discuss with you guys our final rosters. I want to have a good discussion with at least 10 to 15 of you. Whoever wants to come and join, I would really appreciate it. Please do me a favor and comment down below if you would like to see that, if you'd want to join the discussion. I know at least a couple people will come on and make this lively. If everyone wants to see it, I'd love to do it because, I think it's something cool to do. I think it's a good week for it. Also, if you're here, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and let's just get right into it. So obviously the first 3 values, there's only going to be 3 values at running backs because they're pretty obvious, and it all has to do with injuries. First one we'll talk about is James Conner. I joked around on Twitter because on my first look video, you guys heard me when Mike Tomlin said, hey, it's a contusion. James Conner's, he banged up his leg. I came on here and I said, guys, look, I'm not a doctor, but I watched that play a bunch of times and it looked like a high ankle sprain. And now they're saying it's more serious. It looks like an ankle sprain. So, still not a doctor, but it was pretty obvious that it was kind of a big injury. That's why I wrote him up in the original article on Monday morning. Talked about him in the first video. Jalen Samuels at 3,700. Against the Raiders, against one of the best red zone offenses in the league. I think they're scoring 77% of time as touchdowns when they get in the red zone. Something crazy. I think that Jalen Samuels is interesting because I don't think that they're going to pound the ball with him 20 times this game, but I think they love throwing him the ball over the backfield. He came in late in that game, 3 targets right away, 3 catches, 7. The thing is with Samuels, I think that he's a great PPR play. I think he can get you 15 plus points for 3,700, kind of slam dunk. It's one of those weeks where there's so much value at running back. It's I think that they can smash value so big. I kind of got to be riskier and play the high risk, high reward receivers with it and just kind of go all out. And I think that's something that I'm leaning towards doing, but we'll see. The other running back there's 2 more running backs that really stood out to me. I like Justin Jackson a lot. I think that Melvin Gordon's going to miss this game. They haven't ruled him out, but they asked him about his leg today. He said, it's day to day. I'm feeling better, he said, but I'm still limping a little bit. So if he's still limping on Wednesday, I don't know why, against Cincinnati, they would risk Melvin Gordon rolling out there. Justin Jackson is playing really well. Head coach Vance Joseph said, I think yesterday, that Austin Eckler looks a little bit tired. He's a core special teams player, and Justin Jackson's playing well, so they're going to get him the ball more. I believe him. I don't like to listen to coach speak, but 15 carries in the last 2 games, like I said in my first lineup, I think that's going to be combine this, and that's kind of what his workload should look like against the #1 worst run defense team in the league right now in Cincinnati. I love Justin Jackson. And the third one is also a pretty straightforward one in Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson Jr. out of San Francisco. He came on last week against the Seahawks and already broke the record for their team this season for targets and receptions for a running back. So they want to give this guy the ball out of the backfield, but he also had 15 carries on the ground. He had 24 total opportunities. The matchup is kind of neutral. Denver this year started out as a run funneling team where, they were pretty tough against receivers, but they were giving up on the ground. Over the last 4 weeks, they're actually a top 6 team against the run. So the matchup isn't really great, but it's not awful either. But at 3,800, he's my favorite. He's my favorite spot out of these 3 guys. I don't think he's the best play. I think that, honestly, Justin Jackson, at his ownership, at his price, in his spot, is my favorite play. I think Jalen Samuels is the easy one. It's kind of like Spencer Ware last week. But I think all 3 of these guys are super slam dunks. Let me just really quick, guys, go through a lineup with those 3 guys just to show you what I'm talking about. Like, say I have Jeff Wilson Jr., I have Jalen Samuels, and at flex, I go Justin Jackson, right? I go, let me just plug in some soft plays that'll open up some things. Redskins I like at defense. Quarterback I like Josh Allen at 5,500. And now look, I have 7,700 apiece to break through. I got tight end, let me pay up for Kelsey. I got receiver, let me pay up for Antonio Brown. I got receiver, let me pay up for DeAndre Hopkins. I got 7,400, let me pay up for Keenan Allen. So with those 3 guys, I was able to build a lineup with Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, and Travis Kelce. These 4 guys, they could each have 15 points and have 60 points between the 4 of them. But they could also each have 30 points. Like, this is 120 points right here. If these guys have a good game, they have 15 points apiece. Josh Allen has a 20-plus point day, and my defense gets 5 points. Like, this is a tournament-winning lineup. I don't know if I'm, super confident enough in it to be my main cash lineup. It's only Wednesday, so everything's going to change, but I like what this was able to get me with these 3 guys. I just want to show you what these value players look like. Obviously, you can mix and match. You don't have to use only value, right? Like, I can take away Antonio Brown. At flex, I can throw in Zeke, right? So I can have a mix of, I still get Kelsey, I still get Keenan Allen, I still get Hopkins, I still get Zeke. But at wide receiver, 4,200. I got Zay Jones, who, sneak peek, he's going to be on this list later. So, you can have two good value running backs, and you still get to have Zeke, Travis Kelce, Keenan Allen, and DeAndre Hopkins. So I just want to show you what those running backs would get you up to. Let me clear that. And there's, normally I go into depth with more than 3 running backs, but those 3 are the obvious ones. There's no one that's a better value near their price. Like, let's just stick with those 3 and kind of, pick our lineup based around those 3. There's a ton of value at receiver, right? I always go under 5K, so let me just quickly touch on Adam Humphries, who is my favorite play under 5K, like always. He's the most expensive, but look at his game log, 6 straight weeks with at least 50 yards receiving, 9 targets, 6 targets. Like, this is Jameis Winston, and he's been getting the ball, plenty of looks. Sean Jackson's out. This offense is good. He's probably going to be matched up on a lot of P.J. Williams in the slot against the Saints, which is one of their weakest spots in the secondary. I like Humphries' matchup a lot. Even when he wasn't playing that much at the beginning of the season, still had 5 targets in that spot. So Humphries is definitely solid at 4,900. Same game, same price, different name. We got Chris Godwin up here. 4,900, same spot. This all comes down to Deshaun Jackson's health. Before I even get too far into Deshaun Jackson's health, why don't we just find D Jackson normally around the 5K range, maybe a little bit cheaper. You guys are probably like, damn, Cody's right in front of your face. Let me just search him. 4,800. Wasn't with the main group for the portion of Wednesday's practice. Was able to complete some running work. Yeah, obviously has a thumb injury. Earned him a limited tag. His involvement in team drills doesn't offer much encouragement for his health one day after. Speculated Whiteout could be at risk of missing the remainder of the season. So, guys, we're going to go on the assumption that he's out for this game. So, going back to Godwin, we're going to say that he's the number 2 option. Had a great week last week, was my guy at 3,900. Played him everywhere. Got us over 100 yards. Got in the end zone. 24 points was his best game of the year. Best game of the season. So, that was one of my favorite plays last week. I might want to go right back to the well at 49, but if I can choose between those 2, I do prefer Adam Humphries this week. One of the biggest values that just opened up, like I was talking to one of my subscribers, Ken, he's the man, earlier today on Twitter, and we were talking about the Emmanuel Sanders injury. So if you guys don't know, Emmanuel Sanders at practice day, it looks like he just tore his Achilles. Super big blow to this offense. Sanders is having a great year, on pace for like 1,150 yards receiving, the second most of his career. But like I was saying, Ken actually said that Sutton was already in his lineups at 4,500, coming off a 7-target game, which makes sense, 4,500 in a pretty good matchup. Guy is one of my favorite talents. I talk about him way too much. Like I said, I told you how I was talking to my buddy Marcus, probably like week 6 this year, week 7 maybe, that Cortland Sutton was going to be a top 5 round pick for me next year. I told you he was going to get double-digit touchdowns next year. This dude is a jump ball freak. Their head coach said on 50-50 balls to Cortland, it's more like a 70-30 ball because this guy's just going to come down with it. As the clear-cut number 1, I think that Keenum's not going to have too many more options. I do prefer, I think that there's going to be a lot of running games. Running game this week, I think Philip Lindsay gets the ball a ton more with no Sanders as the security blanket. Deshaun Hamilton is going to come in to get some snaps. Let me check out Deshaun Hamilton's price. It's at $3,000. So this is bottom of the barrel. Hamilton didn't have a target, but he had 47 snaps, and that's without Hamilton actually led all Denver wideouts with an 80% snap share, getting more playing time than Sutton, Sanders, and Tim Patrick. So, it's a run-first offense, but the thing is, he might be the one that actually steps up into that slot role without Emmanuel Sanders there. I would assume that they want to keep Tim Patrick on the outside opposite Cortland Sutton. We'll see how that shapes up, but $3,000 for Deshaun Hamilton isn't that bad of a play. Yes, it's kind of a punt. You're paying $3,000 for a guy, but very decent chance to get 9 points. I love Cortland Sutton. Another one that opened up, Zay Jones, having great couple of weeks. He's running primarily out of the slot. The Jets are one of the worst teams at defending the slot. You know how I feel about Josh Allen this week. One of my higher, thoughts on the guy of his whole career so far. I haven't been huge on him, but I like Josh Allen in this spot. Zay Jones is going to emerge with Andre Holmes and Kelvin Benjamin just getting cut. He's their clear number 1. 9 targets last week, 2 touchdowns. It's still Josh Allen, so it's not going to be super pretty. But at 4,200, I think that's a pretty solid play when it comes to, this is super spotty, right? 11-1-9. And it's hard to project out. But with only really not Ramon Foster. What's Foster's name? Why am I blanking? Robert Foster. With only really Zay Jones and Robert Foster as the main playmakers on the outside for the Bills, I do like Zay Jones at 4,200. I also like Foster at 3,300. I think this is a good spot to attack the Jets secondary that's been weak all year. So at 4,200, Zay Jones is a pretty solid play. A guy we were high on last week that actually had a better game than I thought. When I did my recap video and I went through it quick, I didn't really see too much of this Panthers offense. So I didn't think that Curtis Samuel had a big day because I didn't hear much about him or didn't see any highlights. But he led the team in targets and had 6 catches for 88 yards. So I was incorrect when I said that he didn't hit value. He smashed value for 15.6 points at 3,900. So we were right on with that call last week with Curtis Samuel. And mainly what happened was when I went back and saw some of their offensive plays that once Greg Olsen went out, they were trying to get the ball in Curtis Samuel's hands earlier, close to the line of scrimmage. Let him run with the ball. They love this guy's playmaking abilities. Get him the ball, make it, let him make a play. DJ Moore, give him the ball, let him make a play. Christian McCaffrey, get him the ball, let him make a play. That's what the Panthers like to do with these great playmakers. At 4K, there's not many guys with more upside than Curtis Samuel, and he's been showing that he can get it done consistently. If this is something, obviously this isn't going to be his most likely stat line going forward, but if he can be around that 7 target a game mark with, getting a rushing attempt every game, and it's usually a pretty good one, 25-yard run here, not a touchdown, but they get him the ball plenty of ways. 4K, I like Curtis Samuel a lot. Going down the list, 2 more guys. These guys are a little bit less, I'm less excited about. But like I said before, as long as they keep Bruce Ellington under 4K, getting this amount of targets, you got to look his way. They haven't been super efficient targets. They're all these really short dink and dunks. But at 3,800, you guys just got to keep him in the back of your minds if you are struggling to find a spot, fit something that you really like. Just know, okay, I really like Zeke this week. How do I get him in? I only have 3,900 for a receiver. I don't like anyone there. Just keep Bruce Ellington in the back of your mind. Like, he's not a bad play. Just give him the volume for cash. Don't love him in tournaments. But somebody I love in tournaments is Michael Gallup at 3,700. They drafted this guy super high for a reason. One of the best talents at receiver coming out of this draft. The Cowboys love what he can do. I think Amari Cooper's actually good for him. Considering he came over in that Tennessee game, since Amari Cooper came over, 6'3", 5, 6, and 7 targets. So that's a pretty solid share considering it's Dak, considering it's the Cowboys. They run kind of slow. They run the ball a lot. But we're going up against the Philadelphia Eagles at home in a must-win game. And he's got the talent where if he gets those 7, 8, 9 targets in a game against this secondary that's literally taking people off the street right now and starting them at corner, I think Michael Gallup at 3,700 is one of my favorite plays for tournaments this week. I'm so on the fence with him in cash because, like, I think he's fine. I just don't want to have a 5-point player in my cash lineup. But that being said, at 3,700, it's kind of like, it's good price for what you think you can have. You're not getting a cheat code at 3,700 like you are with, Jeff Wilson or Jalen Samuels, right? Like, for some reason, if we're talking just flex, we have Michael Gallup and Jalen Samuels both at 3,700. Like, this one, it just doesn't make sense. They're not the same value, but we're talking just wide receivers. I think Michael Gallup can hit a big play. He can hit a solid 5, 6 catch game. If he can get over that 100-yard mark with a 30-yard catch and maybe like a 25-yard catch and then a couple of regular catches, I think that he has that talent. He has that matchup to do it. I'm not saying he gets there, but this is a video you're trying to find values anywhere. I think he fits that bill. Like I said, do me a favor, guys. Comment down below if you do want to see that live stream on Sunday morning. I really want to get involved with you guys, talk about this slate itself, because it's a super interesting slate where there's 13 games. There's not clear plays everywhere like there was last week. There's obviously 3 great values at running back this week. So please comment down below. Share with your friends who would also want to get involved with something like that. I don't care who's on the stream. Anybody that likes fantasy football and wants to talk about this, have them jump in. Have them send any questions. We'll all talk about it. Like, I'm not stuck up. I don't care who I'm talking to. I just want to talk about fantasy football with anybody. So if you guys want to join in on that, please comment down below. Let me know if you're going to be involved, and I'll get it set up for you. Thanks for taking the time. Let me know who's your favorite play this week out of all these values, and I'll see you guys next time.